Hi guys, so I wanted to go through one more problem where we're graphing it or sketching the graph just from our basic information, from our increasing and decreasing and our positive and negative. So again, whether it's written as greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, just know greater than is your positive, less than is your negative. So what we want to do again is to pull out our important pieces of information, whether they give us it in inequality format or in interval format, we can still get our values. So the first ones are increasing and decreasing. Remember, those are your turning points. They're your max and mins. So whether you think of it as turning point or max and min, that's up to you. But those are X values of great importance. So when I look through the increasing and decreasing line, I see the number -2, 0, +2, and then it just repeats down here. So that's fine. But those are important. They could be maximums. They could be local minimums. I'm not sure, but they are of importance to me. I can graph them as axes of symmetry for right now. They're not exactly symmetrical, but they are going to give me that boundary line of turning points. So I'm going to get those set up on my graph. All right. So here's the one at -2. Here's the one at 0. That's right on my y-axis. And then I have the one at +2. Again, so as we go through this, I know it's going to be a max or min somewhere. One of those is going to be the top. One of them is going to be a bottom. I just need to have that marking there to give me that guidance. Now our positive and negative, that gives us your x-intercepts. It means it's going to be on the x-axis. That's what it means to be an x-intercept. So again, I look back at my what's given. I see the numbers -3, -1, +1, +3, and then they just repeat down there. So again, I know these important numbers. Those are my x-intercepts. So I can plot those right on my graph and be ready to go. So here's -3. Here's -1, +1, and +3. So when I go and graph this, I know that I have to cut through those points. And when I hit the red lines, I'm turning around. And I'm going to head back towards one of those blue dots usually to hit it, get the red, turn around. So as you go through and think this out, I'm going to start with my increasing and decreasing. Okay, so it says it's increasing between -2 and 0. That's what this tells me. It's between, because x is in the middle of that. I'm going to change it to writing into our interval notation we're used to. And it's also increasing when x is greater than 2. So if it's any number bigger than 2, that heads up to positive infinity. It's then decreasing when x is less than -2. So every number less than is a negative infinity, and between 0 and 2. So that's where it's going to be decreasing. So I'm going to set myself up with those axes of symmetry. I'm just going to move them over here, so I'm not sketching around and messing up my original graph. I know one side's negative infinity. I know the other side's positive infinity. So I can then utilize what I just wrote down to help give me a flow of how the graph is going. So starting on my leftmost side from -infinity to -2, I can see that right here. So that tells me it's decreasing. So I'm going to be going down on that side. Once I hit -2 to 0, well, it has to be a turning point. So I better be going upwards. I better be moving in the positive direction, which it is right here. Between -2 and 0 was my increasing side. I got to go up. I hit a line. I know I'm going to be turning around. So between 0 and 2 better be decreasing. And it is. It's right here. And then the last thing, again, I hit that axis. I got to turn around again. So from 2 to positive infinity, I better be going up. And again, I can see that was listed to me. So I can see the flow. It's going to go down, up, down, up. Kind of looks like a W right now. So that's going to give me a really good idea of the movement of my graph. Well, now I got to figure out the position of my graph. And that comes from where it's positive and negative. So again, I'm just going to write down those intervals of where it's at. So it says it's positive when x is less than -3. So that tells me from all negative infinities up until the -3, it's going to be less than. That's how I write it in interval notation. It is also in between. So that's this first one. The second part is in between. So that's from -1 to 1. And I actually got a third part. It is also when x is greater than 3. So that tells me from 3 to all the positive infinities. Everywhere else it's negative. So -3 to -1. And from 1 to 3. So when we look at our positives and negatives, we want to know, where do we start, where do we end? That's really what's important here. Kind of gives us those end behaviors. So you start on your leftmost side. You always start at negative infinity. That's your leftmost side. And you end at positive infinity. So both of those are actually on the positive side. So I'm going to start in the positives, and I'm going to end in the positives. All that other stuff, the -1 to 1, the -3 to -1, 1 to 3, is going to be important. That we'll use it to help me check, but I have a main idea of how I can graph this now. So basically, I'm going to use that same idea as my end behavior. So from -infinity to -3, here's my -3. I know I'm going to be above my x-axis, right? Here's my x. Above it's the positives, below it's the negatives. I know at this end, my rightmost end, 3 to positive infinity, I'm also in the positives. So I know my ends. The middles are now where I'm going to be flowing. So I hit -3. I was going in a downward motion. I keep going until I hit this red line. Once I hit the red line, I'm going to switch directions. I'm going to go up. When I go up, I see a blue dot. I want to cross over the blue dot. Then I cross over, keep going up. Okay, I hit a red line. I got to turn around. So I turn around. Blue dot, I'm going to go through it. Go through it, hit a red line, turn around, and I connected to my other end. And this W wavy form matches what I have going on over here. And I can guarantee by looking at my positive and negative intervals, I'm in the right spots. By just doing something as simple as in the negatives, should have been from -3 to -1. And that's right here, -3 to -1. Look, I'm underneath the x-axis. I was in the negatives. From -1 to +1, I was in the positives. That's what this is telling me, right? And then from 1 to 3, here's 1 to 3, I'm underneath the line again. So I know I'm in the right positions, and it matches the flow that I got from my increasing and decreasing. So I know I sketched this right. The last thing I could then do is know that the leading coefficient of this has to be positive because both ends are going up to the positives, and my degree is going to be even because both sides are going in an upward motion. Okay, so hopefully this clears up a little bit more for you on how to sketch a graph given those basic pieces of information.